G'day everybody, it's Mike, and I'd like to bring you up to date on what's happened with the IS350 and the modifications I've done. This photo you see here is taken by Drag Race Photos, and they've just done an awesome job. So I grabbed this one, and that's me heading out for one of my runs. It wasn't my best run. My best run was done at the last run at night time, so I've got no idea what time this was, but as you can see, I've got the ISF Exhaust and a few other things happening there. But my best time is 351 at 103 miles an hour, or nearly 104 miles an hour. 60 foot you can see was a 202. 8th mile was 8.6 at 83 miles an hour, and 1000 foot was 11.1. So that is actually quite a decent increase over the stock car. So here I've just done a quick spreadsheet. So going back to the 6th of the 3rd, which is 6th of March, my first ever run over the quarter mile where it's timed was 13.907 at 101.37 miles per hour. Temperature was 26 degrees. DA was actually over 2,000 feet, which was pretty ordinary. And as the time went on, the second run was a 14.1. That was terrible because I had the air conditioning on and I was sitting there. It was so hot. But now I've learnt not to run the air conditioning because of the heat soak in the engine. So we had, you can see that it was 5:54. The next one was 8 o'clock, and that's because a couple of guys blew their engines up or something, and we basically had to wait until they cleaned the track up. But in that time, my car cooled right down, and I run the best run of the night, which was a 1373. At 100 miles an hour. Actually, I ran a 1371, but that is the next meeting. So that first meeting, the 1373, was the best I've ever run in that car on that night. And we fast forward here to the 27th, and that's the next test and tune. I got 4 runs. First one was the 1371, and again we had a decent wait because of people blowing their engines up or braking at something and dropping fluid on the track. Car cooled down. It was still 25 degrees Celsius, which is fairly warm, and the DA was 1850. But I did run a 13629 at 101.9 miles an hour. So that was my best run there, with the fsport and the car totally stock. No other modifications. There was no tuning, there was no exhaust done, there was nothing. It was just totally as it came from the factory. The only difference was the fsport intake. Now we fast forward nearly 2 months, and I actually entered the street series, which is where I can race for points, and in the series, which is 7 meetings over the year. So we had a number of practice runs, and my first run was after I've done the RR tune and the ISF exhaust. So to give an idea of what I've done with the exhaust, go back to the mods. So this is a ISF exhaust, mid section. So what I've done, I have got all this has been deleted, and I bought from another guy this section here. Now what I like about the ISF exhaust, and here it is in my kitchen, is this section here is quite good as far as flow goes. I think it's better than any aftermarket exhaust for an IS350. These pipes here are 60 millimeters. Everything's metric, being Japanese. They're not 2.5 inch. They're 60 millimeters. Now these 60 millimeters go into a 90 millimeter intake here, and the exit is 70 millimeters. So what I found is this section here, this is the ISF rear section I bought for $100, pretty bloody cheap I reckon. This is 70 mil and it goes through this, I don't know if it's that good, but these pipes here are about 50 millimeters each. And what I found that this side here hits the floor of the car, because the rear floor is different in the IS350 than it is to the ISF. The floor is totally different. So this section hits the sway bar, it hits the rear floor, it does all sorts of issues. So when I got the exhaust fitted, all the hangers are the same. There's no difference with the hangers, but the floor is very different. So as you can see here, that's 70 millimeters. I mean, that's inside here is 70 mil. That pipe, this sub pipe here is only 50 mil or 55, something like that. It's a lot smaller, and these little buggers here, they're only like 40 something millimeters, where the ISF is 50 plus. So everything back here is actually quite good for flow. The difference is the exhaust drops down, as you can see the angle here, where the ISF V8 is quite flat across here, where the V6 drops down. But I got some guys at Right Price Exhaust here in Brisbane, and they did an awesome job. You can see here the difference. So that's quite parallel, and this drops down to miss the floor and the sway bar and a few other things. So the guys cut it and put 2.5 inch pipes across here, both sides. So they're actually bigger than factory, and they did a great job. So you can see here that the hangers are the same. The exhaust here, got a single outlet obviously for the 350. The ISF has two, and they're different sizes, which I didn't realise. I didn't measure them, I got no idea what they are, but they're different sizes for reasons only known to Lexus. They changed that. But everything else mounts. So the mounting here and the mounts here are the same, so it just bolts straight up. What I did notice, as you can see here on the driver's side here in Australia, the driver's side is perfectly centered, and this is where the problem was. The floor, it hit the floor, so it pushed it down, probably by a good 40 millimeters. But they fixed that up, and it now has a nice level system. So something I did do with the cats, I've got these cats here. I'll just zoom in. They're actually Gesi, I think they're called, and they're 2.5 inch inlet and outlet, and they're 300 cell, and hopefully they won't trigger the engine check light, but we'll find that out when we put the headers on in a few weeks. This is, and the part number is 10 100 10025. They're 2.5 inch, 300 cell. They're good for 500 horsepower, so they're very low restriction. And where this is the ISF, so you got 70mm there, 90mm there, 60mm. I've cut it off here, and I've got 2.5 inch to there, 2.5 inch to there, and the cats have been placed in exactly like that. So where it comes down, this is the exhaust manifold up here, comes into the midsection, and we've got a 2.5 inch cat there, and the O2 sensor is exactly like that, and it works perfectly so far. So some other things I did, I did this to the front of the car. I just put a stencil. My neighbour is awesome. He has a vinyl printing machine, so what we did was put a vinyl template. So I put down black VHT, then I put down the white paint over the template, and then clear coated it, and they look quite good, quite smart. Now, where the car new bar cover, this is my beastie. So I reckon they're a nice looking car. They're pretty good. Everything is stock exterior wise except for the rear. I got the rear bar cover painted in the original Starlight Black, which is 217 code, and it looks quite good. Everything fits perfectly. This bar bolts straight on. There's no issues with where the bar bolts on. It's got the rear exhaust now goes through these they're fake tips, but everything lines up perfectly, and the car looks good, and it actually sounds quite good. I'll put a sound clip up later. What else? Just going through here, just having a look at the times again here. As you can see, I averaged over, there's 8 runs. My average was 100.28 mile per hour. That's over all these runs here. And here we put the RR tune and the ISF rear exhaust, and picked up about 3.1 mile per hour, but the time reduced by 0.408. I think that's quite good, considering all it was a tune and the exhaust. The exhaust actually and the tune made about 28.5 horsepower over stock, which I think is pretty impressive. So as you can see here, when I ran, my best time was a 13351 at 103.8. It was cool. The DA was quite low. I messed up this run. I held third gear too long, and I was hard on the limiter for quite some time before it changed into fourth gear. So I think that should have been probably a 1325, 1328, something like that. Maybe 104 miles an hour. So I'm going there tomorrow night. We'll see how we go. But hopefully, you know, you might get some ideas of what can be done with these things. It's unusual to put an ISF rear catback on an IS350, but because of the size of the piping and running the high flow cats, this thing actually made some pretty decent gains. So the next thing is the PPE headers, and they'll be here, I don't know, probably mid-June maybe. They should be shipped today or in the next 5 days, and it takes about a week or two to get here from America. As soon as they're here, I will put them on, and hopefully we will see a really low 13 or a high 12 out of this thing before the winter's over. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. A bit of an update, and tomorrow I'll put another one to see if we can, you know, do a 1310 or a 1320. But at the moment, that's where we're at. So thanks for watching, and catch you later.